And we are called to order, excuse me, at 7:05 Mountain. And you are muted, Madam Secretary, if you think you're not.
Yes, Arrowwood, present. Bracco,
Present.
Sazelski,
Present.
Harlos,
Present.
Latham,
Here.
Martin,
Present.
Moulton,
Present.
Rowlett,
Here.
Rufo. I will come back. Seebeck.
Yep.
Okay, it's Mr. Data Logan would move into Rufo's spot. I call the other alternates. Rich Tomaso, Dave Roberson, Greg Deal, Roger Roots, Data Logan, present. Dean Rogers.
I'm here.
All right. Madam Chair, at this point, Mr. Rufo has not checked in, so I moved Data Logan over to his spot.
Okay, so we do have quorum though?
Yes.
All right. I am texting Mr. Rufo, but then again, you know, he's dealing with the child hockey stars. So, before we get to public comment, there is a slight announcement that I want to give. It's more information to the guests that are here because we do, and Mike just said he's just coming in from hockey. We do have, and one moment, we do have some recurring guests. This meeting is not going to be like other meetings, and we probably are not going to have, there might be one or two meetings like other ones. We are now in our administrative function. We're working on narrowing down our proposals and working on ordering. Of course, it is the right of any committee member to bring forward new proposals, but we kind of have, unless there's some pressing emergency, a gentleman's agreement amongst ourselves, non-binding, that we're done. So you're not going to be hearing a lot of debate, you know, hopefully not any debate about proposals. So there might be some tweaking if we find some conflicts or things like that. So I just wanted everyone's expectations to be set at the beginning, but it is still perfectly appropriate to give any kind of public comment on proposals, but suggesting new ones probably isn't going to be popular. I did see Mr. Jacobs' hand raised. Mr. Jacobs?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. I wanted to congratulate Mr. Roulette on being named in his first conspiracy theory, as he pointed out, but to point out that he is, compared to me, still a slacker. Thank you.
Well, until he becomes, a ghoulish Republican infiltrator, we are all slackers. I don't think I've been called ghoulish yet. I've been called a lot of unflattering names, but not ghoulish yet. So I'm jelly. I'm calling non-committee members first. Mr. Madden.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to express my disappointment that the current attendance is under 20 people. I would hope that even among the administrative meetings, we would have more public participation of members. Although I will express my gratitude to the members that are here, and I just want to make that known. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Madden. I would just know that the last town hall, which you were at, I thought was very well attended. Been to quite a few of those, and so I was pretty happy about that. And people are obviously reading the proposals since the fanfic being written about them is quite entertaining. I think I had Mr. Seebeck first, then Mr. Latham, then Dr. Moulton.
two things. One, for you, Madam Chair, I am working on getting the platform recordings taken care of. It's just, this is the first chance I've had to deal with it. Second thing, I would caution this committee as we're going to the ordering to remember what I stated in my ordering, which is that we need to take care to consider that the ones that will directly and immediately impact the convention probably need to be addressed first and foremost before everything else.
Thank you, Mr. Seebeck. Mr. Latham?
Yeah, and this is not in the spirit of debate, but just I was pondering this point within the past couple weeks and just wanted to throw it out for people's consideration. Proposal QQ. This is affiliate parties and endorsing a member of another party. And I just, in looking at that language, was curious how that current language and also our proposed change would affect, for example, a Justin Amash, now exploring a bid for the U.S. Senate as a Republican, or endorsement by any other affiliate, any kind of log rolling efforts. We endorse you, in exchange, we do this, that kind of thing. So just that had come to mind as a scenario that existing language and our proposed language might touch upon. And also wanted to say with 4 hours, I kind of am feeling good that at least I would hope, I think I've heard estimates that we can get through maybe 15 to 18 proposals at the convention. That sounds pretty good to me. That's it. Thank you.
I'm going to treat one of your things as a point of parliamentary inquiry, or my opinion. I think even under the current language, say if Michigan wanted to endorse Justin Amash, they could not. However, do I think for someone like Justin Amash, any state affiliate party, let's pretend they weren't in Michigan because Michigan's having other issues. Let's pretend they were in I don't even want to name a boring state because they probably will be the next controversy. The state of Atlantis, the mythical affiliate of Atlantis. I don't think there'll ever be any kind of taste on the LNC to disaffiliate any affiliate who endorsed somebody like Justin Amash or Thomas Massey. However, technically, even under the current language, that would be prohibited, in my opinion. I'm expecting, by the way, if I were the GOP chairman in Michigan, though the GOP in Michigan is dealing with assault charges and all kinds of things, and they're having their own problems, they're probably going to exact some kind of loyalty pledge out of him, because they're going to be worried if he got elected, if they even let him get the nomination, that he'll just switch again, which would make me laugh. I would laugh if he got elected and switch it back to Libertarian. I'm very sad. Even though we disagreed on very much, I adore Justin Amash. Dr. Moulton.
Yeah, on the subject of this meeting here, I just want to point out that with the number of proposals we have, I really don't think we'd get through our proposals even if we had a full day for bylaws, maybe even 2 days. I mean, we just have too many proposals, and that's not to denigrate the proposal. There's a lot of great proposals. If we had 3 days for a convention to do bylaws, that would be wonderful. And I'd say, let's include all these. That would be great. But I think we're going to need to make some hard choices as a committee. I put forth my proposal for some hard choices, which whittled it down a lot. I don't think there'll be appetite among the rest of the committee to whittle it down as much as I did. But I do also want to point out another problem. You may argue, let's just leave them all in there and then we may not get to some. But what I've seen happen over and over again at past conventions is people will look at the list and they'll find one that they like near the end, which may not be as popular with the rest of the convention delegates, and they will move to suspend the rules to move their preferred one up. So I think there are definite benefits to not having a lot of proposals that we know we're never going to get to, because it will minimize people moving to suspend the rules to move their pet proposal up. So I would encourage the committee to keep that in mind as we decide which ones to cut and how to order these. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Moulton. Mr. Rolette, the conspirator of the hour.
All right, my big conspiracy right now. This meeting, I just want to say, like, the order we're going to go in, I think, is to put a proviso on H, combine the proposals, and then order them. Is that correct?
I gave a suggestion on the list, and this is going to be up to the committee. These meetings are going to be a lot more informal and a lot of horse trading and bargaining, I hope, unless somebody insists on rules of formality, which you have every right to do. What I would like to do is to see if the committee agrees upon the combinations that were proposed by Mr. Bracco. I think they're wise. They are ones I was going to make myself. That's not the only reason I think they're wise. I realize that sounds kind of conceited, but I want to see if the committee agrees upon those. Second, I would like to look at, out of the persons who have submitted detailed proposals, if there's any in which there's near either unanimity, I'm not good at that word, or near whatever that word is that I can't pronounce, on hard cuts, that we vote on deleting those. And then we can see where we go from there. I'd like to start to narrow down. I want to reiterate and back up what Dr. Moulton said, because I've done what he said. I took proposal U. Now, I'm very glad I did it. And I did make a deal, a political deal with the Bylaws Committee chair, that I wouldn't speak against a proposal that was very important to him if he didn't object to me moving proposal U up. But it was U. We were never going to get to it, but it was closing the back door on the statement of principles. But that is a tactic that is done. I believe the maximum number of proposals we should have in our report is 18. That doesn't mean that's what everyone, I didn't even narrow it down to 18 yet, but that's where my mind is at. But however, remember, at least right now, we don't have notice requirements. If we think we're going to fly through things, or you think there's a danger we can fly through things and have time left, we could have amongst ourselves kind of some pinch hitters, and you guys just give me the authority if we have the time to just propose them. They don't have to be in a report. Our bylaws are way too loosey-goosey on this, but we can take advantage of that. I just muted you, Mr. Roberson, only because there was a lot of background noise. So I do echo Dr. Moulton's statements. I believe that our official report needs to be what we can reasonably get to, not everything. There's a weird, and we will forward, however, all of our proposals to the next committee. I promised everyone I would do a post-convention report, and things that we worked on here, we workshopped here, people feel passionately about, that might make the cutting room floor. And I suggested cutting quite a few of my own. They will get forwarded to the next committee. Mr. Seaback.
If for some in crazy circumstance that we do get through all the ones we put in the report, and we don't have all of the ones that we've considered in the report, pinch hitting ones that are not in there will cause a major stink on the floor, because it will be perceived to be that we are pulling things out of nowhere, and the delegates are not going to go for that. If for some reason we get through all whatever our total is, we're done, and we go on to the next item of business, the convention. We can always carry them over in the post report to the next committee. But if I'm a delegate on the floor and I'm seeing that happen, I'm freaking out and calling shenanigans.
Well, that will be up to the committee. But speaking of that, on a related note, something I forgot to say, I don't think we're going to have that problem. So I would hope we don't spend too much time speculating on it, though I do think we should spend a little time on that when we get to a report as to what the instructions of the committee will be to me. With the culture in the party right now, with the suspicion, we joke about these conspiracy theories. and they are silly, but there's a reason why they exist. There's a lot of distrust right now. We've done a lot of good work. I'm setting realistic expectations for the committee that there's probably going to be some really good proposals that just aren't going to pass because of party culture right now. And don't take it personally. That is also one reason why I wish to step aside to allow Dr. Moulton to, and we'll talk about that and the committee will vote on that, to propose whatever number RR ends up being, just because I think I'll be viewed as way too partisan, and I would love RR to pass. And I think the best person to propose that is Dr. Moulton. Again, that will be up to the committee, but we need to think tactically that way as well. Okay, so first thing, what I would like to do, but of course, first we need to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. See, I remembered this time, Madam Secretary, and I need to take my hand down instead of sitting here with that little yellow hand. Hold on, because you know what Zoom does to me. Are there any corrections to the January 18th minutes? Seeing none, those are in fact passed. What the chair would like to do next is get a sense of the committee. Maybe we can do a bulk vote. If you want to debate, you can. I do have, is my screen being shared? Yes. So I do have the combos that were proposed by Mr. Bracco. I'd like to put those on the screen and see if we can agree upon these as a committee. I think that will help, and it's a good place to start. So first I'm going to pull up MK Ultra. This is doing as one proposal, extending the time for the platform and credentials committee. It's very related. I think these are going to pass actually quite easily. I could be wrong. I can't wait to see the fanfic on this one. Who proposed it? Oh, it was me. Uh-oh. I'm sure there will be some wonderful fanfic. So it is to present as one proposal for platform, appointing it earlier, 12 months, and for credentials for 6 months. I'm going to ask right away.
Platform was me.
Point of privilege.
Yes, Dr. Martin.
I'm following the link from the agenda and trying to get in this, and it says unauthorized error 401.
That's
I don't know if that's
weird.
just me or if other committee members are having the same problem. If it's just me, I'll shut up. But
Can
if it's
anyone
others,
else
then
get
maybe.
into it? Can anyone else please pull up the agenda and see if you can get into on the agenda? It's the item that's on the screen labeled MK Ultra. Let me go look at the permissions.
I can pull it up.
Yeah, it worked for me.
Okay, if it's just a me problem, never mind. Sorry for wasting time here.
Well, let me see if I can fix this. Let me try adding you individually. Is it Chuck at Moulton.org?
Oh, maybe the problem is I need to log in. Generally, I don't log in, and usually that works. So I guess
Okay.
it's not open to everyone right now. I'll try logging in.
Yeah, and I specifically gave you permissions as well, which sometimes fixes these problems. So I think we even talked about combining these when we passed these. So I'm going to ask at this time, is there any objection to combining these two proposals? So that until we number them, it'll be called MK.
I'm sorry, combining MNK?
MNK.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure it's clear.
So that we present them together.
Combining them into some kind of ultra proposal?
Yeah, it'll be one proposal. Someone can move to divide from the floor. I don't think they will. I mean, they're definitely related. They can move to divide, and if they're going to do that, they're going to do that. But I think this makes it logical. The arguments are the same. And let me give you a advantage to combining proposals, even if we think they're going to be divided, is remember we have that privileged period of time in which I think it's questionable as to whether it can be divided during that time. You should probably look at that rule really closely. It's my impression that it can't. It's the privileged period of time for debate, after which there's just an up down. Then it could get divided. So rather than, and I think that privileged period of time is like 8 minutes, but I know we're amending that later. Let's just say it's 10 because I'm not good at math and I'm good at tens. Rather than having 2 10-minute privileged periods of time, you only have one. Combining proposals helps us get through more, even if they end up getting divided at the end of that privileged period of time. So is there any objection to combining M and K? Hearing none, we now have MK Ultra. Next one, I didn't use your other cute names, Mr. Bracco. I just loved that one so much. So next one, no extra alternates for you, which is now, and let me explain something here. I know that these proposals were on the chopping block of some person's lists. If we combine them, we will end up chopping them probably together too, though of course there can be a reconsideration. But if it's going to be heard, this would combine limiting the number of appointed ranked alternates on committees and limiting the number of alternates for delegations. Is there any objection to combining these two? I think the arguments are somewhat the same, though not as quite on the nose as the other one.
Tiny thing about, what about flipping the order? Just putting Article 10 in front of Article 11? Is there a reason we would want to keep the order in the way it's presented?
That's just my bad.
Yeah, I would say logically we would do it. It would be the other way around. We would go Article 10, then Article 11.
That's what I assumed. I just wanted to clarify that. That's
so moved.
I think everyone kind of agrees on that. If they're going to get divided, they're going to get divided. Again, but it limits that privileged period of time, I think. So, is there any?
Can we amend this to flip these though? And
yeah, is there any objection to flipping them? That when it goes into our report, if we combine them, it'll start with Article 10. It'll go from 10 to 11. All right, hearing no objection. So is there any objection with that amendment of combining these proposals? Hearing none, that one is combined, and I think there's just one left that Mr. Bracco proposed. It's about membership, not college football. This one, okay. We're going to see if there's some debate. I'm going to stick my hand up for debate if there's no one else. All right. At first, I was in favor of combining these. I'm not in favor any longer, though it's going to be up to the committee. I think this exclusively thing is a very minor change and will easily pass. This is actually a significant change. Staff wanted it. I think we need it, but it's a significant change. It's not a mere clarification. It actually changes the way people are required to pay dues. This is a clarification. But if the committee wishes to combine them, we can. In the ordering proposal I did, I just assumed we were going to combine them. But again, remember that ordering comparison I did is it's a bit loosey-goosey. Not entirely, but it's like 85%. Because everyone's thoughts were a little different. I had to merge them together the best I can. I'm not in favor of combining these, but if the committee is, that's fine. Anyone else like to speak on this? Is everyone else in favor of combining them? Am I the only one who's opposed? Because if I am, I'll withdraw my objection. Mr. Martin,
I'm opposed to combining them.
Mr. Seebeck,
I'm not opposed, but I'm willing to bet that the floor will move to divide the question when it gets there.
I'm going to say one further thing in debate. I think that first one of exclusively, I think that's going to pass. I think someone's going to move to call the question nearly immediately, and it's going to pass within a couple minutes. That's my opinion on it. I don't think it's controversial at all. That second one is going to go into debate. So why risk that needed clarification being shot down, even if they're not divided? I think we're risking one this way, but we're going to go to a vote. Because not everyone yelled out, "Oh, you're right." So I think some people are in favor of combining them. Mr. Bracco.
Would you feel differently if the exclusively one was not part of this combination?
Was there another one here? Did I mess something up?
So it's the dues process, but also, if you'll note, it's also the $50 from 25.
Yeah, I think all three of those need to be separate.
Okay.
Because I think that single payment thing, even though staff wants it, I'm in favor of it. I think that's going to be really controversial. Dr. Moulton.
Yeah, I tend to disagree to the extent that I think if we take out the 50 and leave it at 25, then combining that part with the part above about exclusively, I don't think either of those will be very controversial. I think those will both pass fairly easily, and are related to the same subject. I think where we're going to have a lot of debate is the raise in 25 to 50.
Okay, trying to think of the best way to handle this because it's 3 items combined into one. I'd like to keep them as 3, but one right after another. So like, I'd like to have them glued together in our ordering so that like if we order it as number 4, it's like 4A, 4B, 4C. I don't want to separate them in ordering, but I don't think we should be moving them together. Though I don't mind counting them nearly as one item in like the target goal of 18, I don't think we should move them all together. Mr. Latham.
Wanted to ask, you just said the single payment within 365 days would be controversial, and I guess I want to revisit why. So that's my question, and then just to explain my thinking on why I favor combining them, although tied together, I think is still fine. But then positioning it toward the end, in my mind, that encourages delegates to stay through the end of the bylaws debate, because I can see people saying, "Oh, I got to stick around because I got to vote on this dues thing." So that was kind of my rationale for keeping them together, but also toward what we anticipate will be the end of the bylaws report.
One moment, other people are having problems opening MK Ultra. Let me try the permissions here again. Share. It should be anyone with the link should be able to open it. Only people with access. So anyone with link. So you should be able to open it now, Ms. Tewksbury. I just noticed that in comments. Okay, thank you, Mr. Latham. Mr. Bracco, then Mr. Seebeck.
So my thinking with this one, I kind of think that I totally could be wrong, that the controversial part of this one is the $50. And this is more of a strategic question. Is it going to save us more time having the $50 separate? Or is it going to save us more time having the $50 included? And okay, maybe people are going to push to get that to amend it. And then we amend it or not, and whatever happens, happens. Like all of this is in the interest of saving time from my perspective. So I guess maybe I was thinking that one proposal that goes to amendment is going to be faster than 3 proposals that don't, or 2 proposals that don't, and 1 proposal that does anyway. But maybe I'm wrong.
I'm going to get back in line because I think what I have to say is debate and not really answering a point of parliamentary inquiry or anything of the sort. Mr. Seebeck?
Yeah, a couple of things here. The $50 thing will have some controversy to it because of the fact it's a raising of the dues. The single payment thing, because of the nature of it, with requiring the explanation of that would be different from monthly pledging, may cause some issue. The third part of that one about having them paid on their behalf, I will stand up and argue in favor of that because I know what happened to bring that on back in 2009, and I have firsthand experience, knowledge and experience with it, and I will definitely die on that hill for this party. But I get a feeling that those 3 different pieces may wind up getting split multiple ways. So we can combine them, but again, I think that people are going to try to divide them.
Dr. Moulton?
Yeah, my concern, the previous debate seems to assume that whether we divide them or not, and whatever order we get in, they're all going to pass. I don't think that's a foregone conclusion. I think 1 or more of these may very well fail. And I think if we put everything together, all 3, the whole proposal might fail, and then we don't get the 2 parts that most everyone agrees on. So I would rather separate out the $50, which I think is everyone agrees is going to be controversial, whether you want the $50 or not. I'd rather separate that out from the part that I don't think is very controversial. And some people might argue against, but we're going to have a lot of people argue for it. I think these other 2, I think we can pass rather easily. So my worry, if we combine the $50 with either or both of these other things, is we may just have an up or down vote on that. It fails, and have an amendment period where we're not able to take out the $50 and they don't end up passing. I think if we separate them out, I'd bet money that we pass the other 2. And as for the dues, I hope we pass the dues part, but I would not bet money on that one. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay, and I'm just going to ask as a favor that we try to move quickly to a vote on this so we can get to some other things, but I'm not calling the question or anything like that. I think the 3 need to be separate. I agree and disagree with Dr. Moulton. The exclusively thing is going to pass easily. I think the other 2 are not. And I think they're so distinctly different. I'm going to answer a question in chat, though I try not to do that. Not a favor of debate in chat. It is the single payment within whatever amount of time. People are saying that's going to discourage monthly pledgers. This is a technology issue. Staff asked for it. But I will give the caveat. Staff asked for it when we were on Civi CRM. If you've been reading the LNC list, you will see that a decision has been made to move to Zoho. sorry, conspiracy theorists who kept insisting. I'm going to go off topic here for a minute. Let me tell you, the culture problem we have in this problem is people make all these speculations and then there's no accountability when they were dead wrong for all the accusations that they made. That somehow we are in the pocket of Microsoft and we were going to end up with, what is the Microsoft program? Dynamics? No, we didn't, because we were looking for something that was affordable. But anyway, that was a rant. I'm sorry. Not sorry, but it was a rant. I don't know whether Zoho is going to have the same limitations, but I'm going to assume it is. We had a really complicated way of determining membership. But I think those two are controversial. The exclusively is not. And I think the other two are controversial in entirely distinct ways. And if we pair them together, neither of them are going to pass. If we don't pair them together, perhaps one of them will pass. So I encourage us to separate out these three. I wanted to just clarify to Mr. Seebeck, the have paid on their behalf is already currently part of the bylaws. We're not changing that. I don't think that's an issue, because that's already in the bylaws and it's in the proposal.
Someone may
Actually,
try to amend it.
oh, they might. True. They could try to amend that even with the $50. Mr. Roulette has not spoken, then Mr. Bracco.
Let us not omnibus like Congress.
Thank you, Mr. Roulette. You sneaky person who wants to silence dissent in the party. Mr. I'm never going to let you live that down. Mr. Bracco.
I would like to move to strike the $50 in the blue and replace it with 25. And I guess this would, if this were to pass, we would still have B as a standalone proposal, would we not?
I'm thinking here, can we not get into I'm trying to think if that's even in order, Mr. Bracco. I think what you're asking is that we separate or divide the question of, it seems that you're okay with separating out the exclusively, and that you are moving to divide to have a separate vote on whether or not we combine the 25 to 50 with the single. That, I think, is more appropriate of what you're asking, that we first vote
That
on what
is not accurate.
Okay.
It is kind of like that, but it's the it's not separating exclusively and the single payment. It's separating the $50 from.
Okay.
So $50 was B, exclusively was C, and the single payment was S. My intention, it sounds like basically the consensus is it's a bad idea to have the $50 in here, even if some people disagree on whether the single payment's going to be easy or hard. So, okay, let's not complicate this. What I'm trying to do is, I guess, divide the $50 from the combination of exclusively and the single payment.
Okay, well, how about we do this? I'm trying not to spend 2 hours on whether or not we're going to combine proposals. So would there be any objection to first taking a vote on whether or not to separate out the raising to $50, and then the next motion, depending upon what happens with that, will be whether to separate out exclusively from the single payment? So instead of dealing with exclusively first, let's deal with the $50 first. Is there any objection to handling it that way? Okay. Is there let me explain then what our vote will be, what the motion actually is, and see if there's further debate. So the motion will be that the increase of dues of $50 will be considered separately from any proposal to add the word exclusively or make the dues payment in a single payment. That is the motion presently. Is there any further debate? Now, just to remind everyone, when we're going to go to a roll call vote, that even if you think all three should be divided, you can still vote yes on this because the division of the other two is still open. So just making clear that people, but if you want all three of them to be together, vote no. So I guess what I'm saying is if you still think exclusively and single should be divided, that's now a separate question. Don't vote no because of that. If you think all three of them should be together, then vote no. If that, hopefully that makes sense. So the question is to separate out the raising of $50 from the exclusively and single payment. If the secretary would please take a roll call vote.
Arrowwood, I'm going to say yes. Bracco,
Yes.
Sazelsky,
Yes.
Latham,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Moulton,
Yes.
Rowlett,
Yes.
Rufo,
Yes.
Seebeck.
Yes.
Madam Chair, we have 9 yeses.
Okay, so that's separated out. I will not be voting. I'm going to ask if there is debate now. So that is separated out. So what you see on the screen now that we are considering combining, I'm going to change it. And this would either come, depending upon how we order it, it might actually say $50 because if the $50 gets ordered first and it passes, the actual issue is the single payment, no matter what the amount is. The only reason I changed that to $25 on the screen is because that's what dues are now, and we have to deal with the language as it currently exists. So the question now before us is whether we separate out as a separate proposal the issue of exclusively with the issue of whatever the dues amount is at the time we hear the proposal in a single payment, or whether we keep them together. If we've already passed the $50 will be in there. If we haven't, it will say $25. Dr. Moulton.
Yeah, I just think that this will economize on time. I think they're likely to pass together. So I'm going to be voting to keep these together rather than separate them out. I do want to point out, I already released a list of my proposed ordering and what I would cut. If we decide to separate these out, I think we should jettison the exclusively one and not even consider it because that is not nearly as important as the part about dues rather than amount paid or rather than donations. So if this committee decides to separate them out, I think we should cut the first part. We don't have enough time to get to all these proposals. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Moulton. I'll speak briefly. I think we should separate them. And I do want to keep exclusively. That's been an issue with some staff members. We've had so many issues with the definition of membership. But anyway, I've spoke to it already enough, I think, in original debate. So the vote now is whether to split out. So it will be back to 3 separate proposals. The exclusively from the single payment, if the secretary, would take a roll call vote.
Sorry, point of inquiry. A yes vote does what? I'm sorry.
It splits out consideration of the Article 4.1, adding the word exclusively, from the issue of Article 4.4, saying that the dues need to be in a single payment.
All right. Arrowwood, I'm going to say no. Bracco,
No.
Sazelsky,
No.
Latham.
Yeses to split?
Okay, I'm even confused. We're gonna start over because I'm not sure. Because when it came time to it, I was thinking to myself, what actually are we voting on? If the chair doesn't even know what we're voting on, there's no way you guys don't. So let me tell you what a yes vote is and what a no vote is. Yes vote is to combine them. A no vote is to not combine them. So let's start again because I confused myself.
All right, Arrowwood, I'm going to vote combine yes. Bracco,
Yes.
Sazelsky,
Yes.
Latham,
So not combined, no.
okay, Martin,
No.
Moulton,
Yes.
Rowlett,
Nope.
Rufo,
I'm going to abstain.
all right, sir. Seebeck,
Abstain.
okay. Madam Chair, at this time, we have 4 yes, 3 no, and 2 abstain.
So if I vote no, it fails. I'm going to vote no. So it fails. They are staying separate.
Okay,
Okay. What I suggested next, again, it's up to the committee. I'm going to pull up this rough comparison I did, which I will amend after this meeting because I did have it as all of these 3 combined. I realize this may change some of our ordering proposals. I do see Mr. Seebeck's hand, but what I'd like to do first, and I will call upon you, Mr. Seebeck, in case you have an objection, is just take a quick look at where there is some unanimity.
So point of privilege.
Yes,
Wait,
Dr.
wait,
Moore.
For the gallery, I
Order.
want to point out that again, you need to be logged in and be given access to access this.
Okay, and there was a point of order for Mr. Seebeck.
Yes, I had a proposal for 2 others to merge.
Notice really wasn't given of that. It's going to be up to the committee whether they wish to hear this at this time. Which 2 were they?
E and Q.
E, which is platform deletion and protect.
Vote threshold.
Yeah,
And Q is the preamble.
I'm going to ask the committee. This wasn't put on the list.
It was in my documentation that they should be kept together, which could make an argument for merging.
I'm going to say, and there can be another rule appeal, that by majority vote, we're going to consider combining E and Q. What was going through my head is whether this would be a 2/3 or not. I'm going to say you made an attempt to give notice, so it would be a majority vote. It wasn't on the agenda, but we'll do it at the lower vote threshold. Do you want to speak to that, Mr. Seebeck,
Sure.
as to considering it now?
Sure, it's pretty simple. They're both platform related. They're both amending the platform in various forms. So they're completely related to each other in the issue that we're talking a 2/3 to amend or delete on the planks, and the platform would be rolled into that. So to me, they're directly related. I don't think they're controversial in and of themselves, and I don't think they'd be controversial together. And I'll argue this from the floor, just establishing a consistency throughout the entire platform at the same time.
Okay, I'm going to speak against, only because I'm looking and I'm just making sure I had you noted correctly. I did. I'm looking at the persons who had talked about, who had submitted proposals, and Q has 4 people wanting to cut it and 2 people not. And the other one, E, had not as much support. It seems that there is quite a bit of support from, I know it's a minority of the committee because not everyone chose to submit proposals, but I think there's a taste to just get rid of Q. So I'm opposed to combining those two. I'd be opposed to it in any event. I think they're they're both about the platform, but they're for 2 different reasons, entirely different reasons. Though I wouldn't mind sticking them together, like I said, with the other ones, having one come after another. I think combining them is a mistake. Mr. Latham.
I'll just say I dropped Q because of just time concerns, but if it were combined with E, I could see myself supporting that because now they're together and that takes away the time concern for a Q. I may end up abstaining anyway because I may agree that they're different enough that they ought to be considered separately, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Dr. Moulton?
Although earlier I wanted the things dealing with membership combined, I thought that those were somewhat related to each other. I think these are not very related at all. So I would oppose combining them. I think they're very different. They have very different arguments. And I don't think they're the type of slam dunk things. I think Q is probably going to be much more popular than E. I think E may end up being very controversial. So I would oppose combining them. Thank you.
And it seems we are considering that rather than considering. So we're just going to consider them. That's what people are debating on. Is there any further debate about combining E and Q? Otherwise, we will go to a vote on whether or not a yes vote would be to combine E and Q. A no vote would be not to combine E and Q.
All right. Arrowwood, I'm going to say no. Bracco,
Pass because I forgot what yes and no are.
I'll explain. A yes is to combine E and Q. A no is not to combine E and Q.
Okay. No.
right? Sazelski,
No.
Latham,
Abstain?
Martin,
No.
Moulton,
No.
Rowlett,
No.
Rufo.
Abstain.
All right. Mr. Seebeck.
Obviously, yes.
All right.
I will
Madam-
not be voting.
All right. At this point, Madam Chair, we have 1 yes, 6 noes, and 2 abstains.
Okay, that does not pass. So I believe next we are looking at, if the committee agrees, someone can move to do something else. Mr. Roulette, I do see your hand up.
Before we get to what I think you're going to get to, I'd like to put a proviso on H. I think that it'll go quick and it'll affect ordering if we don't.
Well, I'm looking H. Bracco has it as number 1. I have it as number 1. Latham has it as number 3. You have it as dropping. Moulton has it as 9. And Seebeck has it as 1.
It should get a proviso anyway. The question is, do we do it now or later?
I think we do it later, but it's up to you. I think we need to work on.
would prefer to knock it out now.
Mr. Seebeck.
I was gonna ask what the proviso would be. Maybe that'll give us some better context.
Proviso would be this shall take effect upon the final adjournment of the convention at which is it adopted, or if we change it up later, signy day.
Let's look at what H was, because I think I'm actually opposed to that. And if there's going to be debate on this, I'm going to rule we're going to deal with that later, and y'all can challenge that. Because now we're getting into amending proposals, and I see us going way off course. But let's look at exactly what H was, because I don't remember right at this moment.
It was the standardization of committee rules.
No, the whole purpose of this was to have it to go into effect immediately. So I'm in opposition to a proviso. So I think this is getting into amending a platform plank that would take a reconsideration. There wasn't. I'm ruling that we're not dealing with this until we actually get to where we're placing H. If someone wants to appeal that ruling, it's fine, but there is not unanimity on this whatsoever.
I'll drop it then.
And we're going to get to it right away when we get to ordering, because a lot of people had it as number one. So it's coming up soon, but I'd like to first, again, Mr. Seebeck.
I'll wait.
Okay. So let's take a look. I'm going to try. I know y'all like the screen to be large, but I'm trying to look. I want to see all of these at one time, just to see if there's any that are unanimous out of the people that did ordering proposals to get rid of anything. And it doesn't, y'all look with me, it doesn't look like any of them are unanimous, but there are some that are close. What I would suggest that the committee do is we start voting on some of these cuts, particularly ones where there's only one objector. So let's look at what those are. Proposal A has multiple. I'll call upon you in one moment, Mr. Rolette, because I really would like to get some progress, but if you object, we'll hear that in a moment. It looks like proposal G, clarify appellate rule procedures, has one objector. I want to write this down. So I'm proposing we move to a vote on whether or not to cut G. I don't have good eyesight. So I'm trying to see if there's any others where there's just one objector.
There are two more.
Yeah, I see proposal GG. What other one did you see, Mr. Rolette?
So the three that have 5 that want cut are G, CC, and HH.
I see-
HH is one of mine, and I'll say it's killed.
It looks like GG as well.
Did I write that wrong?
I think you're looking at CC. I don't think we have a GG. I think that must have been a proposal that failed.
Oh, CC. Yep. See, my eyes are not good. So G, CC, and HH only have one objector. Is that the same as you see, Mr. Rolette?
Correct.
Okay, so I'd like to take them one at a time, unless there's an objection to going in this procedure. It doesn't mean you're agreeing to deletion, because I know Mr. Rolette believes that we should have a report with everything in it. So I do understand that there is not consensus on a short report, but these will be votes on whether or not to delete certain items from our report and put them, they're not going to go away. They will go into a post-convention report. So the first one that's potentially on the cutting block is G, which was clarify appellate rules of procedure. So this is open for debate as to whether or not we're going to that one. Any debate on that? Mr. Seebeck, particularly since you were the lone objector. Mr. Seebeck.
Okay, that one is the, we're talking G, the appellate rules?
Yes.
Yeah, that one, I think, and we talked about this in the judicial committee itself, which is where we proposed this in the first place. It creates the flexibility that we need if something weird happens. And I don't see it to be too controversial because right now we haven't had anything to have to deal with it. And we can argue that very clearly. But on the other hand, if it gets moved down or out, it's not a huge issue until it becomes an issue. And so far, we've been lucky in that respect.
Okay, in speaking why I stuck this on the cutting room floor, while I agree with the proposal, because the bylaws give the judicial committee the authority to adopt its own special rules of order, the judicial committee also has the authority to suspend them. So if they ever became unworkable, they can actually suspend them. I know the argument is that members should be able to rely upon what it says, et cetera, but the fact is, even if this passes, the judicial committee, unless we have a proposal that they can't suspend them, can suspend them. So that's why I stuck this on my list. Let me get my hand down. Anyone further debate on this? One moment while I get my hand down. Dr. Moulton. Dr. Moulton, you're on mute.
I apologize. Yeah, let's just cut it. I apologize not being very prepared for this meeting. I should have got some comically large scissors and been on video here because I think we should cut a lot of this stuff. And again, it's not that I don't support it. It's just we don't have time. We got to make priorities.
Okay, thank you. That I would have paid for that, by the way. Let's have a paid per view. Let's start an OnlyFans of you cutting bylaws proposals. As long as you wear a bikini. Okay. The price just went up. It's Mr. Seebeck.
Sorry, I just looked this up a second. I disagree with your assessment on whether the committee can suspend their own rules, because it says that they can establish it, but this proposal has to do with LNC approval as well. So there's an oversight piece attached to this or disapproval, which would handicap such a suspension. I'm not quite sure that's an accurate interpretation.
Thank you, Mr. Seebeck. I guess it would have to be dealt with at the time, but who's it going to be appealed to? The judicial committee? Oh, I just we start getting into turtles all the way down at times. I've said really all I wish I obviously support this proposal. I voted for it. I just don't think it's one of our more pressing ones. Okay, I got side bets. I'm not going to say who it is for privacy, but got to contact the entire LNC. Is it a weirdo? Is it yes or is it hate? Somebody wants us to support RFK Jr. That is the majority of the comments we get right now. Okay, continuing. Any further debate? Okay, we're going to go to a vote then. Ms. Arrowood, a yes vote would be to cut proposal G. A no vote would be to retain.
Okay. Arrowwood, I'm going to say yes. Rocco.
Yes, that's to cut, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, to cut. Yes.
Sazelski,
Yes.
Latham,
No.
Martin,
Yes.
Moulton,
Yes.
Rowlett,
Yes.
Rufo,
Yes.
Seebeck.
No.
All right. 6, 7. Madam Chair, at this point, we have 7 yes and 2 no.
Okay, that passes. I will not be voting.
All right. Then we have 7 yes, 2 no, and 1 abstain.
Reminding everyone that these will get passed on. Okay, that's what I'm doing with ones we are cutting. The next one, as to which there was only 1 abstainer, was CC, cleanup status language. I don't know if there's any debate on this. We kind of did talk about this. There was an error in the town hall report that Dr. Moulton pointed out, where it should say affiliate rather than affiliation. I did fix that. That was a Scrivener's error on my part. Is there any debate on this item, which is whether or not to cut CC and pass it on? Is there any objection? I know Latham did not have it, but I'm asking anyway, since there was no debate. Is there any objection to cutting and passing on CC? Raise your hand if you are objecting. Okay, seeing none. The next one, which there was the sole objector, is HH, which is limit minority report. The great conspiracy of silencing dissent in the party. I'm going to I want to ask the villain if he would like to speak to his objection to cutting this from the report. Mr. Roulette, if you wish to.
If this waits 2 years, it's fine. I put it near the middle of the importance, whatever. It's fine.
Okay, so I'm going to ask then, is there any further debate on cutting proposal HH, which is limiting minority report? Seeing none, that is cut. Now we're going to move to the ones that have 2 objectors, and that's all I'm going to do on this cutting thing. Then we're going to have a lot more robust debate that I'm going to ask the committee how they wish to proceed. So if someone with better eyesight than I have can help me list the ones in which there are 2 objectors.
There are 5 of them.
Okay, Mr. Roulette, you can let me know what they are.
Q, T, EB,
What did you say?
K, beta,
Oh,
then
okay.
KK, and PP.
He said PP. Settle down, Beavis. Okay. So the first one up is proposal Q, which is protect preamble. It was my proposal and I recommended cutting it, even though it's important to me. I think we have more important ones. The 2 that were in favor of keeping it in were Mr. Roulette and Mr. Seebeck. I would like to give them priority in debate if they wish to, and then see if anyone else would like to debate keeping those in. Mr. Roulette?
Again, middle importance. If it goes, oh well. I will bring it up in another couple of years somehow.
And Mr. Seebeck?
I'm sorry, are we talking about Q again or?
Q.
Well, I just repeat what I said earlier. We keep the platform amendment standards consistent and thorough. that's the best argument.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Seebeck. We're going to go then to, does anyone else wish to debate? Excuse me. Because I know not everybody submitted a proposal, so there might be persons who have strong opinions on this. So what is being debated is whether or not we cut proposal Q and pass it on. I'm not going to say that each time. Whenever we say we're cutting something, that means it's going into my post-convention report. Wow, Paul's getting violent in chat, and so is Dr. Moulton. All right, Ms. Arrowwood, if you would go to a roll call vote, a yes is to cut, a no is to retain.
I'm going to say cut, yes. Bracco,
Yes.
Sizelski,
Yes.
Latham,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Moulton,
Yes.
Rowlett,
Yes.
Rufo,
Yes.
Seebeck.
No.
Madam Chair, at this point, we have 8 yes, 1 no.
Yeah, we'll not be voting, so we are cutting Q. Again, that was one very near and dear to my heart. I'm making my own sacrifices here. Whoops, fucked up. Sorry, screwed up. Wash my mouth out with soap. Okay. Next one is proposal T. Clean up committee proposals. It's also one I believe I proposed that is near and dear to me, but I just don't think it's the most important. We have the same two objectors, Mr. Rowlett, who I'll call upon first, then Mr. Seebeck, and then anyone else who wishes to debate. Mr. Rowlett.
This one is medium to low importance. It's fine.
Mr. Seebeck.
Can we put that one up real fast just to refresh my memory?
Sure. It is
T, I think you said.
Trying to find it in this folder because it doesn't. Wish Wayne would get back from the Douglas County meeting. I'm starving and he's supposed to bring me some pork mac and cheese. So I'm dreaming of pork mac and cheese at this point. Where is T?
Down.
I have
Oh,
it
there
up
it
if
is.
you like.
I've got it. I don't think everyone realizes how bad my eyesight actually is. Yeah, this was with that awkward do pass language that is so fucking terrible. But it denies minority reports for credentials committee, which you know is really important to me. I just think we've got more important proposals. So that is basically what it dealt with.
I had that as 18th in my list, so yeah, that's no big deal.
Okay, anyone else wish to debate on this? Well, this one I'm going to ask if there's any objections, since both of the objectors in at least those submitting proposals did not feel strongly. Is there any objection to striking proposal T and sending it on to the next committee for consideration? Hearing none, T is gone. We're being sufficiently ruthless. BB. Now I'm one of the objectors. This is time limit LNC appeals. Right now, there's no time limit. I believe what we decided upon was 90 days. It might be 60, whatever it was, it time limited them. It's myself and Mr. Bracco who were the dissenters. So, Mr. Bracco, if you would like to go first, and then I will go.
Sure. So I have to look exactly. Is this right before? Let's see. It's 9. Yeah. So I had thought I tried to order my proposals. If you look at what I had as 9, that was maybe a more controversial one in my mind, at least. I had thought that this would be an easy one to pass. So I try to do easy, difficult, and not do a string of difficult ones in a row. I think that's why I kept this. I think that's why it is where it is. I don't think that this is the most important one. I think it's not the least important one either, though. So maybe I have it ranked too high, but I kind of think maybe this should be on there, even if it is towards the end.
Thank you, Mr. Bracco. I did have it towards the end, but I do think we need to start tightening up our appeal process. However, I do have it as 19. And if you guys notice some of your numbers might be a little off, it was because of the combinations where I just kind of put them under one number. As I said, this wasn't 1-to-1. So I'm not going to cry if it gets struck because I did have it as 19 and my goal is to get to 18 or less. But I thought it was important enough to not recommend striking. But again, you're not going to break my heart. Would anyone else like to debate? I'm going to ask then, is there any objection to striking BB? All right, hearing no objection, BB is going on to the next committee to live a new life. KK, resignations. Mr. Bracco and Mr. Seebeck are the objectors. This was my proposal. I stuck it on my strike list, even though I'm obviously in favor of it. I am going to call Mr. Bracco first to speak to it, and then Mr. Seebeck, then anyone else.
Same story with the BB proposal. I thought that this was something that would pass without much objection. And I wanted to intersperse difficult and easy. So if this goes away, not a big deal. I think the 3 in mine is maybe overstating its importance to me, but I think it'd be something that's easy. And if we need an easy win, I think this is a good one.
Hey, Mr. Seebeck, and then I'll get in line after Mr. Seebeck.
But this is really a short, sweet, and non-controversial proposal. I think if it goes out before the floor, it's going to wind up getting called and passed pretty quickly. I mean, it's common sense that if someone resigns, that they should accept the resignation. So striking this would save maybe 5 minutes in the entire period of time. I figure that's about it. So let's keep it in and get a low-hanging fruit picked.
Okay, the one comment I had, and then I'll call Mr. Latham. I'm obviously in favor of it. I think we have other easy ones. I agree we need to front load with easy. I know not everyone agrees with that. But I think we have other easy ones. But again, I cut this towards the end because I was trying to get it as close to 18 as possible. This was one of the last ones that I begrudgingly cut. So I could go either way. I just was starting to get ruthless. I was hearing Dr. Moulton in my mind. Now that you know, Dr. Moulton, you're in my mind. Mr. Latham.
Just a similar thing, but maybe carrying it forward. If we cut, for example, so many that now we get under 18, let's say, this would be one of the first ones I would want back for the reason that I think it's an easy one, but easy, I also think it's just not critical. So it's low priority. So that's why it's on my strike list. But maybe that's kind of a question. Can we revive some of these that we cut if we find out that okay.
And what we can do, such as this one, I mean, I could stick a highlight on it, meaning it's struck. But if we have to sneak it in because we have extra time, we can agree upon that as a committee. And I don't think this is one that people will feel ambushed by if it gets stuck in because we have extra time. This isn't, as people have said, that I'm sure certain people in the party can come up with some very interesting fanfic over this, but I don't think it would be very persuasive to be some kind of sneaky power grab by most people in the party. So what I'm going to ask is if there's any objection to striking it, but having me stick it as yellow, meaning we might keep this on deck. We still have to decide as to whether the committee will give the chair authority to revive some if we have extra time. But if we decide to give the chair that authority, this is going to be one of them. Is there any objection to that? Right, hearing none, that's where KK is at right now. It's gone, but it's in reserve. PP, National Delegate Qualifications. Myself and Mr. Latham are the sole objectors. I've been going in alphabetical order. I'll say why I objected. People need to at least be a sustaining member of the party. On principle, do I think this is one of our most important ones? No. But on principle, I already gave a lot on this one because I actually think they should be required to be a sustaining member. I already compromised on it to gain Dr. Moulton's proposal. Approval. I'd love it to go farther. I also know there are committee members that are even considering a minority report, that there are strong feelings on this. This isn't one of those meh ones, even though whatever. But the fact that someone could just sign the pledge and not even be a member of their state affiliate and be qualified to be a national delegate is insane to me. And I don't want to leave insane loopholes in our bylaws. Mr. Bracco.
So I don't disagree with it. I mean, I voted for this language. I think I might have voted for every single one that's left. But I think if this gets struck out, we should put it in the same position as KK, because I think that those are fair arguments. I would say the reason why I struck it was there's a lot of state parties that have fixed this problem on their own. So I can speak for my own state party. You are required not only to be a national sustaining member to be a delegate from Virginia, you have to be a member of the state party too. So I think that while this is a hole in the national bylaws, I think it's fair to say that. It's not necessarily a hole that applies to every state. And that's kind of why I kind of ranked it a little bit lower and low enough for me to get rid of it.
Okay. Thank you. And you're correct. Colorado did the same thing. And I actually meant Mr. Latham was the other one, but I'm glad you got to speak, Mr. Bracco. Mr. Latham, why did you not have this on your strike list?
I ranked it 16. If we have 18, then that's still within the realm of keeping it on our list. So that's why I think we should still keep it there. But it's ranked pretty low.
Okay, I'm going to float this by the committee. What do we think of yellowing this, which means it's stricken, but we will decide at the end if you want to give the chair the authority to have resignations and national delegate qualifications as some potential fillers. And I really think I don't think we're going to have time for fillers, but if so, it will be those. It will only be a couple, and this would be another one. Mr. Latham.
I think we ought to have a vote to see whether it'd be cut or in the yellow, because I think it just barely might have enough support among this committee to at least keep it on our list.
Well, what vote do you think should be first? Cutting it?
Let's see what let's do the yellow, I guess. Let's take the yellow vote and then see where that goes. I guess that would be my preference.
I think
and we'll get a sense of the body.
I think we're kind of treating this as a blank, to be honest with you, and you go with the most extreme first. Well, argument can be made either way. I want to see what Dr. Moulton has to say.
Yeah, I'm in favor of yellowing this. I think the longer that we debate these other proposals, the more we're going to find that everyone or a large majority want to keep things, but we have to make hard choices. Even if 18 is our target, which honestly, I think 18 is too ambitious. But even if 18 is our target, we're still a far stretch from 18. So some stuff needs to be cut. We got to make these decisions.
I'm going to just ask. And if it isn't without objection, then I'll decide how I'm going to handle the vote. Is there an objection to yellowing this one? Seeing none, it's yellowed. Okay, now we get to the hard part because those are
Not
the
that
only
one. Next one.
next one.
That's
Sorry.
everyone wants to keep that one.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. Now here's where I'm going to be asking the committee how they wish to proceed. But let me let you know an overarching idea I have, which again, I can be overruled on. I'd like to get surveys out relatively soon. But we have, even with 18 proposals, I've learned from the past, you piss off people quickly. And again, with some of the culture of the party right now, I actually would like to send out, let's say we hit 18, 3 surveys with 6 proposals in them each. So I'd like to get to a point where we know our first 6, so I could get a survey out right away. I'm really very open and not too sure as to how we want to get there. My thoughts are, and then I'll start calling on people, is I think we need to vote on try to come to a consensus on our number 1 proposal. My philosophy, and I know not everyone agrees, is that our number 1 proposal should be something easy as a sales technique to get people used to saying yes. So I'm open to how the committee wants to proceed from here. I think we did great in getting rid of, the yellows are getting rid of them. They just might be in my back pocket. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, that's fantastic. We've already gotten it down. So I'm going to go to Mr. Bracco.
Sure. So I think there's actually a few more here that we could do. For example, TT, while it has 3 people keeping it, every single person who kept it has it very low.
So are you moving?
Yeah,
consider?
let's consider moving TT to the after committee or after convention report, whatever we're calling it.
And was this the one to make the delegate counts dependent only upon sustaining members and not including presidential vote totals?
No, I
No.
think the one you're referring to is L. But
Yeah, this is
this
confirmed
Oh,
secretariat
TT is
calculation.
the confirmed. Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. All right, Dr. Moulton, I'm going to come back to you unless you wish to speak to this because I think you had something different to say. There is a motion on the floor to pass forward TT. I had it, the people who had it kept it, Mr. Bracco had it as 21. I had it as 17. Latham had it as 18. So we all had it pretty low, but I'd like to remind the committee, I'll tell you why I kept it at all is because I want to give an appeal right. That's really what I care about with it. So, I want to number it low, but I'm not in favor of getting rid of it. Would anyone else like to speak to a motion to get rid of TT? Get rid of again means pass on to the next committee. Mr. Bracco.
Perhaps it would be better for this to be a yellowing vote. I don't know if I can change my mind at this point, but if I can, I would like to.
I mean, you can. As I said, this is going to be kind of a consensus. I'm going to call on Mr. Latham next.
That was basically going to be my substitute motion. So
okay. And remember, the yellows are still very up in the air because it hasn't been decided whether the committee is going to give the chair authority on that. And then we'll have to order yellows. But I have to tell you, I'm opposed to I mean, I'll vote for yellow rather than strike, but I want this to be on our report. I think this is going to be an issue as we're moving on to a new CRM, whatever. That's me. If I'm in the minority, that's okay. Mr. Roulette.
I would rather have it red than yellow because the question is, how many yellows do we want? Yeah, and looking at the ones that had only basically 3 people for cutting it and 3 people not. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 in that category. Of those 7, I have TT. Everyone is convinced that it's not okay. That's not true. What I was about to say. Most people want it to be low priority, and I think I would prefer it to be red, and some of these other ones that are in the 3 category to be yellow instead.
You know, if we move things to yellow, we could always move them later to red. What all yellow does is mean they are off the report. So it just means we have a further decision to make later. So that's okay. Are you suggesting, did you bring me food? I'm starving. Okay.
Wayne, get the pizza
I'm starving.
and send some out here.
Okay. Mr. Roulette, I heard kind of an implied motion. Are you suggesting that perhaps we go through the ones in which there were 3-3 votes?
No.
I would like to do that, but it'll take us past 10 o'clock.
Well, I mean, this is work we have to do.
But I'm down for it. Is anybody? I'm in the central time zone. I'm fine with doing that, but other people have to be fine with it too.
I'm fine with it. I want to do cuts.
I got a
want.
convention to get ready for tomorrow, so I'm on time constraints.
Well, we don't have to finish it all this week. I mean, if we work on cuts tonight, we're getting there, and maybe we'll meet next week. That will be up to the committee at the end of this meeting. God, Ms. Arrowood is very expressive tonight. I can tell you, I really don't want to meet next week because the LNC wants to do like a LNC at night kind of fun broadcast.
Oh,
But I already told them that it depends upon what the bylaws committee decides. I'm going to be a no for next week, but I told them it's up to the committee. If we can do more cuts, I'd like to talk about doing more cuts. It will make our ordering easier, and I can redo this chart and shift everything around. So I'm good with doing the 3-3s. Dr. Moulton?
That was going to be my suggestion when I had my hands raised earlier.
Okay.
I think we should do the 3-3s. I'm in favor. Let's keep cutting. If we can move these things to yellow, or if we can move these things to red, that's great. If we can move these things to yellow, that's progress at least.
Yep.
Let's just cut as much as possible. If this has to wait till next week or the week after, because some people have to go, then I will go and get comically large scissors.
Okay, and yellow again removes it from the report. It just means that we're kind of kicking the can a little as to whether we're willing to let go to red. So, but there is a motion on the floor, which is TT. So, and then we're going to deal with Dr. Moulton's motion, which is joined by Roulette, I think, as to whether or not we're going to deal with the 3-3s, which I am in favor of. I can't. Mr. Bracco, is your motion to move TT to red or to yellow?
Let's say to yellow. My hand was actually up to all. Like I also support talking about the 3-3s.
Okay. So your motion is to move TT to yellow. Is there any objection to moving TT to yellow? Hearing none. TT is yellow. So we're going to go from the top and start dealing with the 3-3s. And again, we are going to eventually have to deal with these yellows. And I know people are agreeing to them as compromises, and I really appreciate that. So the
Okay,
first
I got
one,
them for you when you want.
these I think I can see. So starting from the top, A is one of them, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right, A, chair ascension procedure. I'm going to be a no on moving this one. I actually, you'll see, I have it ranked as 3. I think it's important because it was a present controversy. Things that are present controversies, which people perceived as ambiguities in our bylaws, I think we have a duty to address. So I am a very hard no on getting rid of this, but that's me, Mr. Bracco.
I'd like to move to table A until the end, like until it's the last. Like, let's do A as the last 3-3. I feel like that one's the biggest toss up for me. I'd like to see how far we get with the other ones first.
Tabling isn't tabling.
Like, is it not like definite tabling to a time after all the other
Well,
ones?
that's a motion to postpone.
Okay.
Okay,
I would like to postpone the consideration of A until after we've dealt with all the other 3-3s.
Does anyone have an objection to that? We're going very unorthodox into heresy territory here. All right, hearing none, let's go to the next 3-3, which is, help me out, Mr. Roulette, with my bad vision.
Aye.
Okay. Change token threshold. I'm in favor of moving this to red. Anyone else wish to speak to this? And Wayne, what are we eating? I'm starving. I am so hungry. I'm going to eat one of the committee members.
Ooh, kinky. Wayne, get her some food.
Okay. So anyone wish, Mr. Bracco?
It looks like everybody who has it pretty low. I'd say cut it.
Okay. I'm going to ask, is there any objection to cutting proposal I? Okay, oh, wait, Dr. Moulton?
I'm just wondering, if I DoorDash you some food, then will you vote to cut more stuff?
I've been pretty good about cutting stuff. I've been cutting my own proposals, but I'll always accept food, but you don't need to bribe me. Because we don't need that on George Philly's next blog. Okay, so hearing none, I is cut. What's the next one, Mr. Roulette?
The next one is L.
L, change delegate allocation formula. I do want to speak to this, but I want to stop hogging the mic. Anyone else wish to speak to this before myself? Mr. Bracco.
Yeah, I believe this was mine. I think that the issue that exists that caused me to want to do this still exists. It was really ballot access, especially New York, was what was in my mind. It's not the top priority. I don't have it as top priority. It's in the middle. I would like to keep this one. I think it is a higher. I would honestly like to keep it over A, and I know that's on hold, but I think that this is a more critical issue. It's entirely possible that no chair resigns, but this is definitely going to happen. Like, unless there's a miracle, I think there are going to be a couple of, like, at 1 or 2 states at least, that have some pretty significant ballot access hills to climb.
Okay, Mr. Roulette, and I'll be after Mr. Roulette.
Of all of the 3-3s, this is the only one that I really want to save. It has significant impact on a lot of people, and also from a philosophical perspective, it makes us more excellent. So yeah, get rid of all the other 3-3s, but keep L is where I'm at.
Okay, I agree with Mr. Roulette. New York is also weighing heavily on my mind. It's not their fault that we're probably not going to have ballot access in New York. Don't rule it out entirely. I can't reveal confidential information. However, I don't think it's fair that we punish states because the state sucks. It's not New York's fault. And also, particularly with the changes we're proposing, raising dues, maybe making it in one payment, we want to encourage national party memberships. So I kind of view this as tied in with that. I'm very strongly in favor of keeping out. So since this is definitely going to be a roll call vote, I'm seeing if there's any further debate, firstly. Right, Ms. Arrowood, we are going to vote on Reading on strike. Okay, Mr. Bracco?
Is maybe I interrupted you and you were about to do it. Just I want to ask to clarify the
Oh, go ahead.
what are the vote? Yes, does this? No, does this?
Yes, we'll move it to red.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so a yes vote will move it to red, and L vote will keep it right where it's at right now. It doesn't mean you're ordering, it just means it's in the running to be ordered. Ms. Arrowood. If you would do the roll call, yes would strike it, no would keep it in the running.
Okay. I'm going to say, keep it, is that no?
That's a no.
Yes, I'm sorry, no. Bracco,
No.
Sizelski,
No.
Latham,
Abstain.
Martin,
No.
Moulton,
Yes, and I would ask the chair if she wants chicken or beef.
Chicken.
okay,
Not sausage?
Browlette,
No.
Rufo,
No.
Seebeck.
Abstain.
All right. Madam Chair, at this point, we have 1 yes, 6 noes, and 2 abstains.
Okay, my vote will not make a difference, so I'll not be voting on this for right now. It's still there. Remember, we can do further cuts later, just to let Dr. Moulton know in case we get to that point. But for right now, it's in the running. Next one, I believe, Mr. Roulette, is N.
Correct.
Again, I'm going to put myself last because I've been talking a lot. Mr. Bracco.
Did we pass combining this with AA?
No.
We did not. Okay.
Are we talking about
Wait.
N?
Wait, we didn't? I thought we did.
Yeah, I thought we did.
I thought this was combined with AA.
AA.
N is in Nancy?
Limit delegation alternates. Did we combine it?
That was one of them that I had proposed to combine. I
Let
don't
me-
know if it
let-
happened.
11.5 and 10.5.
Let me look. NAA. Yeah, no, that did pass. Okay, well then what we're going to do here then, 1 second, let me pull this back up.
AA also had 3 people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it did. So, since we already voted to combine it, we're going to consider it together. So if we are going to strike N, AA will go along with it.
All right. Well,
Mr. Bracco?
so this is the ones that I liked. But I think we got to. I'm willing to make the sacrifice. I'm okay with cutting N and AA. I think there's more important things. We can cut it.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Moulton?
Yeah, I'm always in favor of cutting. Well, that may be exaggeration, but I'm generally in favor of cutting. And I do think we should cut this one. I think this is a good candidate for yellow in though, just because it's real simple. I would prefer later on, once we get in a decision of ordering of yellows and whether to cut yellows, that we favor the yellows that we think are slam dunk votes and that no one is gonna object to being ambushed. And I think this kind of falls in that category. So I would put this as a yellow that is an easy one to bring up later if we have time, which of course we won't.
Mr. Seebeck?
I'm actually in favor of getting rid of this one. If AA goes into the report, it would have, and there's no proviso on it, it would cause the state delegations to have to adjust their numbers on alternates immediately on the floor, and that would create a whole lot of hue and cry for people who made the effort to get there, all of a sudden to find out that they've been rejected. So let's cut this one.
I'm going to put myself last, but I did want to make a point that I think it was an oversight. We didn't put a proviso on AA, and that a proviso would be easily attached to AA once we got to that point. I think that was just an oversight. I think we all agreed that we were not going to do anything that changed delegate qualifications or numbers mid-convention, that would be profoundly unfair. Mr. Latham.
Yeah, just I support putting a proviso if that's necessary. Again, low priority, but I still think ought to be on our list. So either yellow or just stay on the list, but we shouldn't cut it.
Mr. Bracco.
So just making a point, while I would still say let's cut N and AA. I do believe that on the email vote, I did move a proviso. I'm pretty sure AA does have a proviso.
And it could have been an error that I didn't note it, but I know we as a committee agreed we were not going to be changing people's delegate qualifications mid-convention. I think the committee is pretty agreed upon that. So, and there's no way that would pass if we didn't do that and we ended up considering it. Mr. Martin.
Yes, I show a proviso on proposal AA highlighted in yellow.
On the town hall report?
No.
Then that was an error of mine.
I'm working off the chair's proposal worksheet.
Okay. As I'm working, because we had so many proposals, but let me look here under AA has a proviso. If I didn't stick it on the town hall report, that's an oversight on my part, where a proviso passed. So that's a non-issue. There's a proviso. So we are back to then N and AA. And it seemed like there was an appetite for the lesser of yellowing it. That's what I'm going to ask first. We might need to go to a roll call vote if there's an objection. Is there an objection to yellowing N and AA? Okay, hearing none, those are yellowed. What was the next one, Mr. Roulette?
You.
No, you. I'm joking. Okay, clean up affiliation language. This is the one that talked about the continuing duty to provide updated governing documents. And I believe also that the LNC did not have to take the first taker, and which has been our interpretation. This was just to make it clear in cases of any new affiliations. This, in fact, it has come up. So if everyone else wants to strike it, I'm not going to object. But if other people object, I will join their objection. So would anyone else like to speak on you? Mr. Bracco.
I think L is more important. I think A is more important. This might be the third most important of these three proposals. This, for me, this is on the edge of we barely keep it or we barely yellow it. And I think it'll probably end up being yellow, but I can go either way.
If you believe it or not, I want to keep it or read it. I want us to start making firm decisions. I hear Dr. Moulton clapping. So, I mean, if you want to move to yellow.
I'm sorry, I thought I was muted.
Okay. Oh, no. I could just read your mind. Mr. Martin.
Yeah, how many more do we have to cut?
Well, if we're gonna get down to 18, if that's our target, let's just look at what right now isn't red. And I'm not looking at numbers. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. We're at 18 right
Well,
now.
no, because we split up B,
Oh,
C, and
yeah,
S.
that's true. So we are at 20 right now. Thank you, Dr. Moulton. Okay, I don't know how we want to handle this. How much of an appetite is there to yellow it? Because I'll make, we can vote on that first. I can tell you I'm going to vote no. It's either keep or red for me. But if there's an appetite for yellowing, we'll call that vote first. And if it passes, it will be yellow. If it fails, we'll move to a red vote. And then if that fails, we're keeping it.
If I'm gonna get 2 bites at the apple like that, yeah, I'll go for yellow first.
Okay, well, that's what we're gonna do because it seems like it's a 3-3. Ms. Arrowwood. So the first vote is we are on, what was it again? You. A yes vote will yellow it. A no vote will not, with the understanding that we're then going to move to a red vote. So if you want to keep it, you're going to want to vote no on both of these.
All right, Arrowwood, I'm going to say no. Bracco,
Yes.
Sazelski,
Yes.
Latham,
No to redline this one.
Wait, we're voting on yellow.
Correct, but you said
Right,
no with the
okay.
opportunity that we would then
Okay.
be able to vote red.
All right, you confused me. Thank you.
Martin,
No.
Moulton,
Yes.
Rowlett,
Yes. Yes.
Rufo,
Abstain.
Seebeck,
Yes.
It doesn't look like my vote will make a difference. It looks like yellow passed. So, which we will, we can deal with later as far as ordering. Those of you who are in favor of red will, in our ordering, we might end up getting there, but for right now, it is yellow. Are there any others? We had three, I don't think so. Was there?
Point of order.
Yes, Mr.
Yes.
Seebeck?
I thought we were going to vote to see if we wanted to yellow it first and move immediately to a vote to see if we wanted to red it.
Only if yellow failed.
Yeah, I must have missed that point.
We'll have an opportunity later when we get to, if you want to, you voted in favor. Do you want to move to reconsider because of misunderstanding?
No, but I would call orders today.
Yep, you are. Well, actually, we have 5 minutes. I called it to order at 7:05. We're 2-hour meetings. Mr. Bracco.
And since we do have 5 minutes, I believe we're back around to A.
Oh, yeah, we're back. That was what I was trying to remember. Okay. Mr. Bracco, did you want to speak to that?
If we have to choose between this and L, I would pick L. I honestly, I would pick L. This is something that should be fixed, but I kind of think it already is. Like this is there might be some people who would say that this is substantive. I kind of think it's not, but that's me. That's why I would be not sad if this goes.
Dr. Malton?
Yeah, I know this has been a recent controversy, but it's also a rare controversy. Happened like once in 50 years. And even in that once in 50 years, it didn't actually matter because the vice chair didn't want to become chair. So if this comes up once again in the next 50 years, and there's a 50-50 chance whether the vice chair actually wants to become chair, we don't have to deal with this immediately. Well, I think this ought to be clarified, and I voted. I might have been alternate at the time, but I certainly support this. But I really think we need to prioritize. So let's cut it or yellow it. Yellow is fine too.
This is another one where I'm kind of in favor of cutting or keeping because I think we're getting too many yellows. What's the sense of the body? Do we want to go on a red vote first this time, Mr. Bracco?
That yes, red vote. Let's if we're doing it, let's do it.
Okay.
I'm the
Mr.
only
Martin?
one who disagrees. Again, the dissenter. This is the only one I want yellow. I think all the rest of them should be red. This is
Okay.
borderline.
I'm going to ask then the committee what they think about this. Again, we're in heresy territory. Let's do roll call votes on both. If they both pass, it's the one that passes with the most votes is what we're going to do. So we'll do a vote on yellowing it, and we'll do a vote on redding it. This is completely heretical. If they both pass, it's whichever has the most yes votes. If only one of them passes, obviously it's that one. If neither of them passes, we're keeping it. So Ms. Arrowwood, we're going to vote on yellowing it, then we're going to immediately vote on redding it. I have a feeling one of those two is going to have more votes than the other. I don't think the chance of keeping it is high, even though I want to.
Okay.
So yellow. A yes is to yellow. A no is not to yellow. Understanding we're immediately moving then to a red vote.
Arrowwood, I'm going to say yes. Bracco,
Yes.
Sazelski,
Yes.
Latham,
Yes, also we'll be doing that on red.
okay. Martin,
No.
Moulton,
Yes.
Rowlett,
Yes.
Rufo,
Yes.
Seebeck.
Yes.
Madam Chair, at this point, we have 8 yes, 1 no.
On both of these, I'm going to vote because I think we need all votes in this one, and I'm voting no. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 no's,
And
2 yeses. Okay, now we're moving to red.
okay,
Madam Chair, I believe you had that count wrong. I believe it was 8 yes, 2
8
no.
yes, 2 no.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Okay, no problem.
I'm dyslexic.
I'm sorry, can I have what the yes is again?
Yes is to red, and no is not to red. It's
Okay,
obvious that yellow passed.
right.
So we're going to at least yellow it. In order to red it, we've got to have more than 8 yeses. And the 2 no's were myself, and I forgot who else voted no.
Mr. Martin,
Okay.
I'm going to say yes. Bracco,
I'm gonna say no.
all right. Sazelski,
I'm up in the air, but I'm gonna say yes.
okay. Latham,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Moulton,
Yes.
Rowlett,
Yes.
Rufo,
No.
Seebeck,
Definitely yes.
6. Madam Chair, at this point, we have 7 yeses and 2 nos.
So I vote yes is the tie. Okay, since we
Where's
are,
the 20-sided die?
well, that's what I'm actually looking for, a dice.
Wait a minute, what were those totals again?
Well, I haven't
70
voted yet. I haven't voted yet. If I vote no, then it will be yellow. If I vote yes, it will be a tie. And
What, no, Madam Secretary, please read the totals again.
Arrowwood, yes.
No, not the number. What's the yes and no totals at the moment?
Oh, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 yes and 2 no. The chair has not voted at this point.
if I vote yes, it will be 8-2, which is what yellow was. If I vote no, it will be 7-3.
It doesn't matter. We're voted, the vote for red is exclusive of the vote of yellow. They're separate,
then
they're
it would
separate
be-
motions.
No,
Peter's going to write a paper.
they're not exclusive. We said whichever was the winner of those two, if they both passed, which had the higher vote total, would be what we do. We didn't discuss what would happen if there was a tie.
I disagree with that. You can't have one motion dependent upon another like that.
I said we were going into heretical territory here.
No,
And-
we're actually violating the rules here.
Yeah, we are, because if you want to raise
It's
point of
basically
order.
approve. It's basically approve of voting.
It was, and I'd gotten consent to this beforehand. If someone wants to raise a point of order, please feel free to.
I'm raising that point of order.
Okay, then what we're going to do is start from the very beginning. And does someone wish to make a motion to either do yellow or red? Get your hand up. Mr. Latham.
Move to cut red.
Okay, that's what we're going to vote on. A yes vote will make it red. A no vote will keep it yellow. A no vote will keep it in.
I'm sorry, could I have that again?
A yes vote will cut it. A red, a no vote will keep it in.
Oh, all right. Arrowwood, I'm going to pass. Rocco,
No.
Sizelski,
Yes.
Latham,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Moulton,
Yes.
Rowlett,
Yes.
Rufo,
No.
Seebeck.
Yes.
All right. And I get to go again. I'm going to say yes.
My vote will not make a difference. So this is cut.
Okay.
And that's the last of the threes, and we are at time unless there's a motion to extend time. We'll have just a tiny bit of housekeeping to do, but I'm waiting to see if there's a motion to extend time.
Point of information. What is the housekeeping?
The housekeeping is whether anyone, and we will need to do a motion to extend time if we wish to do this. We're meeting in 2 weeks unless somebody desires to make a motion to meet next week. And if someone wants to make that motion, I'll make a motion to extend time. I don't want to meet next week, but I want this to be the committee's decision. Otherwise, we're meeting in 2 weeks. And in between those 2 weeks, I'll give you an updated comparison of ordering, getting rid of all of the yellows, the reds, sticking the yellows in a separate document and readjusting everyone's ordering accordingly. And I'll do that soon, get it up on the list, because maybe we can come to some consensus on the list as to the first 6 or so. Okay, I don't see any motion to meet next week. So we are meeting in 2 weeks. I'll do all of that cleanup work and get that on the list as soon as possible. So we are adjourned at 9:11 Mountain Time.